So today I've got something a little different for you. It's the first Friday of the month, and that would mean normally I would be making a little card for my flip display frame. But I've been itching to play with some new products I bought a couple of weeks ago. Just haven't had the chance to play with them until now. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to do that and leave the little display frame for another time. If I can fit an extra video in the week, in the middle of the week sometime, I will do. If not, I might just make that next week's project. But the products that I bought were some of the Jane Davenport making faces products, and I just really want to have a play with them. So I bought the face base paints, which come as a set. You get a large bottle of the basic skin tone, and then a smaller bottle of a lighter tone and a darker tone, and then you can blend these together to create a whole range of different skin tones. I wanted to try out those because it is really difficult to get a good skin tone in acrylic paint, and unless you're really good at mixing, you know, it can be very tricky. So I thought I wanted to try those. I also got her little quill pen, just because, you know, that it's beautiful, and that has permanent ink and a little brush tip, so I thought that might be fun to try. And the other thing that I got was 2 of her sets of palette pastels. I thought that this set, the birthday suit set, would really complement the paints and make sort of shading and adding blush and everything to the faces really easy, so I bought those. And then I bought the mineralized ones, which are pearlescent, sort of two-tone, iridescent, very, very pretty. Just bought them because they're beautiful. I also bought a set of her baton blenders because I'd bought the pastels. And yes, these are very similar to sort of makeup applicators that you can buy. The foam is a little bit denser. It is formulated to use with these pastels, and I do like the extra length in the handle. If you buy that little makeup ones, they tend to be a lot shorter and can be a little fiddly. So these look really, really good. Now, in the sets of palette pastels, they come with one of these little cards for swatching the colours. It has a bit of artwork on one side and a swatch chart on the other. But Spellbinders, who've made them, made a real stupid mistake in my opinion. It's printed on a sort of satin finish, almost glossy card. And as you can see, I've tried, you cannot get your pastels to stick to them. But Jane was aware of that, and very kindly on her website has put some little charts that you can print off yourself. I'll pop the link below in the description if you want to go there. And there is a little swatch chart for each of the sets, because there are other sets as well. So I've printed these onto mixed media paper, which has got a bit of a tooth, and as you can see, it takes the pastels really well. So this set here is the mineralized one, and they've got beautiful sheen, lovely range of colours. This set here is the birthday suit with the skin tones and the pinks and the reds, very, very nice. Now, the mineralized set, with it being iridescent, I had a go of a couple of colours on a bit of black card, and they show up really well. They look beautiful. So really excited to start doing something with those. But I thought the best way to have a play with the different skin tones is to sort of paint some faces. So I've got a stamp here that I'm going to use to stamp faces. This is one of James Luke Burke Creative concept set of stamps. I believe right at this precise moment it's currently out of stock, but it will be coming back into stock. I'll link to his Etsy shop below. You can always click to get notifications from a shop to let them know when there's new products available. So, you know, if it's something that you want and it's not currently available, get the notifications, and then at least you'll see when it comes back into stock. But I've just got this, the stamp with the smaller face and the body, and I'm going to be stamping that. I've made myself a couple of masks because I want them to be overlapping on the page. So this I've just stamped onto a piece of paper and cut around them twice. And today I'm going to be using the VersaFine ink in toffee colour. I don't want to use black. I don't want the ink to be that noticeable when I've finished painting. So the toffee, being a sort of warm brown tone, I thought it should almost sort of disappear once I've painted over it. So that's what I'm using today. I've got a paintbrush and a palette and some water ready to go for when I start painting. But first of all, I'm just going to stamp several of these images onto my page. This is my Dina Wakley journal. I'm just using the watercolour paper. And then we can start to playing around with the paints and see what they look like. So now I've stamped my faces, my figures. I'm not concerned that some of the stamping is a little patchy. It's always difficult when stamping onto directly onto a journal. But we're going to be painting, so it's not going to be noticeable. If any of the lines do look like they need touching up, I can always do that with a little pencil or pen when I've finished, but I really don't think we'll notice it once we've got the colour on the page. So I'm just going to clean my stamp off and then I'll be right back and we can start mixing the paint and getting the skin tones in. So I've popped a bit of each of the three colours onto my palette and I've got my brush, I've just wet my brush. As you can see, it's really good heavy body paint. I would suggest, simply because of the style of the bottle, it's got a fine nozzle, which is great, but you can't get your paint back in there. So don't put out more paint than you're going to use. Obviously, if you're mixing a colour, you need to be able to mix enough, but just bear in mind that once you've got that out of there, you're not going to get it back in that pot again. So I'm just going to begin by doing my first face with just the main skin tone as it is, straight out of the bottle. And it's really nice, goes on smoothly. And the thing that I do like is it dries to a good matte finish, it dries quickly. And that's great for us journalers. The fact that it's a matte finish means we can pop other medium on top and your pages are not going to be sticking together. So I'm just trying to be as careful as I possibly can. I'm just going to paint in the face and neck. As you can see, that's great coverage. It's a really nice skin tone in its own right. So what I'm going to do now is start mixing a little of the darker tone with the main colour or a little of the lighter tone with the main colour, just to get some variation and colour each of these figures in a different colour. So as you can see, we've got quite a good variation of different skin tones, and it's drying really quickly to a matte finish. Now I haven't been fussy, I haven't done any shading, I've just sort of blocked in some skin tone colour in there, and I'm going to use the pastels from the birthday suit set to add a little shading and definition, and I'm going to be using the baton blenders to do that. So taking my cue from colours of makeup that suit different skin tones, the fairer skin tones, I'm going to be using the paler, more peachy pink colours, and as I go through to the darker skin tones, I feel we'll be able to use some of these brighter tones and see how well they show up on these darker paint colours. So that'll be really interesting to see. So now that's got my first layers of shading, I'll just give you a closer look. We're just starting to put a little shading around the edges of the faces and around the nose line. I need to go back in with my pen, and I think I'll use the quill pen possibly to add some details, or I may use a pencil. Haven't decided yet, but I want to gradually build a little bit more shading up before I do that, and then I can go back in and just redefine the features. So I've just got a selection of Polychromos pencils here, and I'm just going to define the edges and the features of the various faces using these. So now there's a little more definition to eyebrows, nose and mouth. I'm going to add a touch of colour to the eyes and then a little detail with a white gel pen, a very fine liner, and I may actually use this quill just to do the lashes. So there's a lot of the detail that we've got in the faces, so it just remains to do hair and body now. And I'm going to keep this quite simple, just going to use some of the pretty colours that we've got in this Mineralize set of pastels. And these have, you know, there's some really beautiful blues and greens and pinks. So I'm just going to, again, use the baton blenders just to add in a little colour, and then we could always go in with the pen and add some detail afterwards. Here's our page almost complete now. I'm just going to frame it off to finish it and then call this one done. And there we are. I'm going to call this one finished. I've really enjoyed playing with these paints and pastels, and then just, finishing off with the pens and pencils that I've got. And I hope you can see that, these paints are really, really good. And if skin tones is something that you've struggled, I will recommend this. I'm not sponsored. This is something that I've bought myself. But they're really, really good. I really like the colours of these paints. I've really enjoyed using the pastels. That's been something completely different, something I haven't tried before, not for a long, long time, and really, really impressed with these. And I would suggest, if you're buying the paint, get this birthday suit set, because they're just perfect for adding shade to the faces. If I can find links to these products, I will put them down below in my Amazon shop fronts. I've got one for the US and one for the UK, so please check those out and see what I can link for you down there. Don't forget to visit Jane's website if you do purchase the pastels, and print off these little swatch cards, which are really, really handy references. But for now, that's all. If you enjoyed this, please leave me a thumbs up. Please leave some comments below. Have you tried these products from Jane Davenport? What do you think? Let me know. Have you found, have you got any good ideas or tips on how to use them? Always interested to hear what other people are doing. As I say, this is just something that I bought these the other week, was dying to have a go. This is my first real play with them, so I've enjoyed that. And I shall see you again next week. Bye.